Hello and welcome to New Earth Awakening. Today we welcome to the show Brandi Van. She is a professional pet communicator and psychic medium, mentor devoted to helping animals share their wisdom, love, and needs through heartfelt pet psychic readings. She also offers mediumship readings to help people connect with the loved ones in spirit, bringing comfort, validation, and often unexpected healing. These sessions are sacred conversations that remind us that we're never truly alone. As a psychic medium mentor, Brandi helps empaths and sensitive souls turn self doubt into psychic confidence. Welcome to the show, Brandi.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So let's start off by you sharing a little bit about your path and how it finally led you to the work that you're doing today.
Sure. So I was never like really into like I was really interested in like psychic stuff, but I never really thought that I would actually become one. Like it wasn't like where I thought my life was headed. But when I was in my 20s, I had a profound spiritual experience that just changed everything in my life. So my family and I were all around my grandma's bed as she was taking her last breath in hospice. And when she took her last breath, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. And when I looked above the bed, I saw like the most amazing bright colors. I don't even think they're like in this world. And they were forming a star and it was like beating in and out like a heartbeat. And in that moment, I just knew that death wasn't final. I knew I'd be talking to her again. I knew that she was going on to this new beautiful place. It was just like so life changing. Actually left the room because it was so like strong and powerful. And my cousins came out and they thought I left the room because I was the youngest grandchild. They thought I couldn't handle how sad it was. And it took me like years to even tell them what I was experiencing because you just never know like if someone's belief systems or like, like they're grieving right now and I'm going through this really different experience than they're going through. But once I did tell them like years later, no one was surprised. Like, apparently, my whole mom's side of the family is psychic. Like, my mom has some abilities, my own sister, aunts, uncles, cousins. Like, so no one was surprised. And I was like, well, why did anyone talk about this ever? Right. So now I want to be like the spokesperson so that if somebody has these abilities, that they don't feel like they have to hide them or not talk about them. But, like, after I had that experience, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, like, I wanna be a psychic now, this is awesome." So I, like, read a ton of books, and I took a ton of classes, but, like, nothing was working, and I was like, "Alright, maybe it was just, like, a one-time thing." And then I gave up on it until I spoke with my friend who's also a life coach, and she was like, "Did you ever try to look for a mentor?" And I was like, "I don't think they exist." And I couldn't find one. But luckily, a medium that I had been doing readings with, I just asked her, like, hey, will you take me under your wing? And like, thank God she did. I only worked with her for maybe like an hour a month for 6 months. And then my abilities just skyrocketed. It was amazing. Like, when someone's already been on the path before you and they can teach you exactly what to do, like, I was doing readings and like contacting spirit on demand, and then I started charging for it, and it just like changed my life. So it was just amazing how I thought I couldn't do it, and then this mentor helped me, so now that's why I love mentoring people. But the pets kinda came in because I knew I had this mediumship ability. I could talk to deceased loved ones pretty easily once I learned how to do it. And I found this chick that was doing like a 1 month class and you could stay in it for however long you wanted to. I only took the class for 1 week and I was talking to pets. So I was like, okay, I guess I can talk to pets too. And it's so much fun. I love it.
So you have your own pets at home, right?
Yes, but I don't read them because I feel like it's like this ethical issue of like, I wouldn't want like my husband like reading my mind or vice versa, right? So like I don't want to read their minds because, I live with them and I feel like it's a boundary issue.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the differences in experience that you were experiencing while your grandmother was passing to this other amazing plane that is basically going back home.
Yes.
So could you please talk a little bit about that and the belief systems behind it?
Yeah, so at the time, like I wasn't religious and I wasn't spiritual, so like I really didn't understand what was going on. But it was like this magnetic feeling. Like, why would I have looked above the bed, right? Everyone else was looking down at her, but I just was like in my stomach felt like this magnet like telling me to look up. And it was such a feeling of like peace and calm, and I just felt like she, like, wanted me to see it also, like, so I just felt like this was something that was meant to be. I don't know why she chose me to see it and not anyone else, but, like, it was amazing, and so I can still talk to her today, and I know I'm gonna see her again. So at the time, I didn't really have a belief system, but yeah, now I know absolutely that she went back to the spirit world, and I'm gonna see her again one day, and so it was just like, I have no fear of death anymore, you know? It was just, like, this beautiful like, why do people fear it? We are energy, and so, yeah, we're gonna leave this body, which is, like, uncomfortable and painful anyway. So when we can leave that, it's just, like, this peaceful, amazing place to be in, and so I'm so glad that I was there for that. Like, I can't imagine if I wasn't there in that moment, nothing would have changed for me. Who knows where my life would have been, you know? So, yeah, amazing. Thanks for asking that question. That's great.
Yeah, so that's basically what you said is about the grieving process. Like, if you know that your energy, everything is energy, everybody is energy, that this body is mega dense, it can feel a little bit restricting. And when you see another person transition, it's like, oh, you're going home. Amazing, have a nice
Yes.
journey. Talk to me soon. And other people are crying and sad because they believe that's it,
Yeah.
you know?
And really, like, I mean, I did cry then, but I have not cried at a funeral since then. Like, I'm sure if it's someone like much more closer to me, like my own parents or something, because I will miss them until I see them again. But like, I was even close with my one aunt that passed away, and I still have not cried yet. Like, I don't know, it just like completely changed it for me. So I feel like I can still talk to her now if I want, and I know I'll see her again. So it's kind of like not that I don't miss them, but I don't know how to explain it. It's like I don't grieve anymore or something. I don't know. And I don't want people to think I'm like selfish, like don't you miss that person? Don't you love that person, right? Like of course I do, but it's just so different now that I know I can talk to people who passed away. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah, I bet. It's a whole different experience.
A whole different reality going on.
Exactly, parallel realities.
Yes.
So let's talk about pet reincarnation, how they return to us. Tell us about your experiences with it.
Yes. So we all have like our pet, just like kind of how we have like our spirit tribe, we have like a spirit pet that comes to us, right? If you choose to have pets, not everybody has a pet. But I've actually been finding with my readings that some reincarnate, even if it's not the same type of breed, like they'll still come back. But some are like, I can't reincarnate. So, like this one dog, for instance, his mom, like he knew really wanted him to come back to her and live with her again and was hoping for his reincarnation. And he was like, I can't because I need to be a therapy dog for this little girl. And so he just had to tell his mom, like, I'm so sorry, but I have this higher purpose of helping her. Like, I helped you, and now I need to go help someone else. So, yeah, it's like, I think they, just like us, like they have their purpose, they have their path that they need to go on, and so maybe some do come back to us and maybe sometimes they don't. But I think either way it's really beautiful because even if they don't come back but they're going on to do an amazing thing for somebody else, I mean that's just a beautiful thing also, so yeah.
So let's talk about the most loving and funny messages that you have received so far from living or transition dogs.
Yes. So the most loving, I actually did this cat, and I don't know if it was love or if it was more like first I was like your cat's really protective of you, but the more he spoke, I was like, no, he's more like possessive of you. And then by the end of it, I was like, I think he's obsessed with you. I mean, he just loved her so much. It was like, I just want to be on an island with her and me and nobody else ever. Like this is it, right? So it's very interesting. But he also, when the humans and other cats moved in with them, he started peeing on like all their stuff because he was just showing like, I don't want these other people here. I just want to be with you and you only. So yeah, they're so funny that way. But I did have a dog that passed away, and his mom didn't know how he passed. Like, she just got home and his breathing was like really labored. And so she hurried up, called the vet. The vet was only like 3 miles away, and he actually passed away on the way to the vet's office. And he said, like, I did that because I knew my mom was going to be heartbroken if she had to decide to put me down or not. So he was like, I wanted to take that away from her. I wanted to do that for her. And he also said he didn't want to pass at home for them to have that memory, but he also didn't want to pass in the vet's office, and he described it as cold, and I don't know if he meant temperature cold or like cold kind of setting. Um, but yeah, he did that for her, and he also told her how, like, what was the cause of his passing, and that gave her a lot of comfort. But his biggest message was, she gave me the best gift on Valentine's Day, and she was like, but I gave him a gift on every holiday. I'm like, no, he's specifically saying Valentine's Day, and here it was because she got her kids him as a gift for Valentine's Day, but he saw it as, "No, you gave me my family on Valentine's Day." So it was so sweet. So sweet. He's one I'll never forget. But some of the funny ones, like, I absolutely love reading pets because their energy, it's very different than a mediumship reading, right? Mediumship is very like sad, people are grieving. And then I go to these pets that are like hilarious. So I had this one pet that was like, can you please tell my mom that I need a mirror to be on the ground because I need to look at how cute I am? And especially when she puts me in these outfits, I need to see what I look like. And she's like, I can only look at myself in the mirror when she holds me up, but I need to be able to decide when I want to see myself. So she was a very like conceited little dog, but she just thought she was the cutest thing. I had another dog that had a negotiation for his mom. So his mom was like, every time I let him out in the morning, he runs down the street. She's like, he comes back, but like he's been doing it for a long time, and I'm really afraid, that he's gonna run away one of these days. So can you please stop doing that? And he came back with, okay, I will stop running down the street if you give me my window time back. Apparently, she got these like new blinds, and he wasn't able to look out the window anymore. So he wanted that time back. He literally emailed me the next morning and said, "Last night I gave him window time, and this morning he did not run down the street." So he totally negotiated his way to be able to get what he wanted and also make his mom happy. So it was like the things they say are just hilarious. But yeah, I could probably go on all day with these stories. But yeah, it's so good.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about those stories of healing where there's a person grieving in the grieving process and they come to you and you share something that totally changes their life.
Yes. So I just got chills even just thinking about this story. So are you talking about a dog or a human?
Whatever, both
Okay.
if you can.
So it was okay, so maybe I'll give one of each. So I just had this dog that I don't know if you where are you located? Where in the world are you?
I live in Malta right now.
So I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States. And there was this big story from Pittsburgh about this funeral home. And that's originally where I'm from, so I really feel connected to Pittsburgh. But this funeral director was like taking people's money to do a memorial with ashes, and then he was putting like rocks and clay and things so that he didn't have to actually pay for the cremation services, and was giving people what was not ashes, or he was like combining them. So some people had maybe not their ashes and other people's dogs' ashes. So it was like this huge story, and it's still going on now where he's getting sued and things. So I actually did a reading for one of those dogs that she doesn't know if she has his ashes or what happened to his ashes. And he was like, "Mom, I could care less what happened to my ashes." Like he basically was showing me like him, and he was showing me his ashes, and he was like, "I don't even have that body anymore." He was like, "You're so upset about it." And he's like, "Why? Like, remember my memories, remember me, remember our time together. Like, this is not how I want to be remembered. I don't want you focusing on that. This is hindering your grieving process. Like, let's just switch that and let's just think of me. Like, let's not even care about these ashes." So that gave her so much feeling and comfort. Like, so I'm so glad she was just crying and in tears. So I was so glad I was able to do that. But yeah, a lot of time with the mediumship readings as well, especially like I find it really healing for people that maybe weren't able to be around the person when they passed away. And I have to tell them, maybe they didn't want anybody around. Like they chose when they passed away. Maybe they waited until you left the room, right? Because they didn't want you to see that. So a lot of people that have guilt, like once they cross into the spirit world, it's so different. They have so much love and forgiveness and compassion. So what bothers us here really isn't bothering them at all anymore. And so they need to hear that. They need to hear that from someone to say, like, I don't even care about that. Like, I don't even want to be remembered that way. Like, let's remember the good times. So yeah, it can be very, very healing and comforting. But I always tell them, make sure you have a tissue, make sure you take some notes, because maybe something it doesn't like trigger right then, but maybe you'll remember something later. So yeah, it's all very healing, comforting work. I'm so blessed. Like I have this
Oh. And the human story?
human story. Yeah, I just gave like a general one because a lot of people do have that guilt of not being around their loved one when they pass away. So that's more of like a general story, but it's one that I see over and over again of people having this guilt and they don't need to because they're choosing it or they just don't mind it. Like they're not even thinking of that. Especially when people have like dementia or Alzheimer's. Every person that has come through me, their memories come back the minute that they cross over. So if you think that they don't know who you were in that moment or that you weren't there, once they pass away, they know that you were there. And so that's another big one that like a lot of people I feel like I give that message a lot too.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about psychic development, the mentorship that you have going on, and how shadow work plays a role into that
Yeah,
for you.
sure. So the mentorship, I was doing a lot of readings, the mediumship readings, but I just felt like this higher calling. I was like, if I can create like an army of light workers to go out so that they can do readings for people, I felt like that was really my purpose. So I created this 90-day program so that people can, no matter where they're at, right? Maybe they have a little bit, they know they have an ability, maybe they don't think they have one at all, they're just interested in it like I was. I can really take people through the 90 days of like step by step. This is exactly what you need to do. I'm not a guru, so I'm not like, this is, you can't do it in any other way, right? So I'm telling them they can, change the exercises up or whatever. But I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and I actually customize it. So, like, they're learning the basics of what they need to know to protect their energy, how to pull in cosmic energy to not deplete themselves. They're learning the chakras, everything you need to know. But then I'm also customizing it based off of what they say. So if someone says, I'm hearing spirit or being clairaudient, I'm not going to give them a whole bunch of exercises on clairvoyance or clear seeing. So I'm going to give them more on the clairaudience. So I kind of customize it based off of what they're finding out about themselves. But really, people are like, I just can't. I'm so amazed that like people's lives are changing. It's like I don't even have the abilities that some of these clients have, but I'm finding them. I'm getting them to find themselves, right? Which is amazing. It's like I don't have that ability, but they found it through the program. But yeah, it all starts with shadow work because the very first module, the very first thing they work on, and I tell them this first module, you're not going to feel like you're developing your psychic abilities, but it's something you have to do. You have to work on yourself because the more self acceptance and self love you can have and self compassion, you're going to have a stronger connection with your spirit guides. You're going to believe in yourself more. And that's really what it is. It's that self doubt that comes in, right? Like, I don't believe in the messages I'm getting. I don't believe that this is real. So you really need to trust yourself. And that all starts with the shadow work. Do I need to forgive myself for anything? Am I betraying myself or sabotaging myself in any way? So we go through that extensively, but I always tell my clients, like, I'm not a therapist and I need to stay in my lane. So I'm going to give you this work to do, but I can't really help more than that because I'm not a therapist. But yeah, they really need to, and really they could work on that forever. It doesn't mean that you're going to heal yourself completely. And it doesn't mean that you need to heal yourself to be able to develop your abilities. It's just like hand in hand. So that if an emotional block or barrier comes up and you can't get a message from spirit, then you can go back to that shadow work and say, hey, what do I need to work on a little bit more? What's going on here that I can't get the message from?
Yeah, so the importance of shadow work again.
Yeah. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's a necessary evil.
Every day, for me at least. And it's also like, yeah, you embark on this journey, and first you might think, oh, this is going to be so amazing, unicorns, butterflies, glitter, and then you are in the middle of some feeling, emotion there, and you're like, breathe into it, come on. Transmute it.
You're like, wait, I didn't sign up for trauma healing, right? But that's really where you got to start, unfortunately. It's only gonna help you in the long run, right? So if you have all that like so-called baggage, and if you can release that, you're gonna feel lighter and better about yourself. So even though it might not be the most comfortable to go through, in the end or in the future, it's gonna help you in every way.
So let's talk a little bit about your grandma. Did you talk with her again? What's she about now?
I think I talked to her at the beginning when I was first starting out. She was like the only one I would reach out to. And so I think I talked to her a little bit too much. Like I think she was she was happy to be there with me, but also like, hey, I need to go to the spirit world too. I can't be with you all the time. So I kind of needed to I feel like there was a boundary there that like she put up that was like, okay, I can't talk to you all the time. But really, even like with the dog, my dogs or like people that I know, like humans that I know, it is harder to do a reading for someone that I know versus a stranger because my ego, like my mind starts to get in the way. So then I kind of confuse my own mind with spirit. And it's like, wait, am I thinking of a memory or is that actually spirit coming through? So it's actually a lot harder, but every time I go to a medium or to a psychic, my grandma usually comes through and I get messages that I know I would not have been able to get myself. So I can talk to her in terms of like it's a conversation, but when it comes to like advice or guidance, like I don't really get that from her. I have to go to other people that will give me those messages. So it's interesting how it works that way. I don't know if that's for everyone, but that's how it works for me.
So let's talk about your own inner guidance, your guides, and your higher self, right? So, how are you able to receive advice from them? How does it look like for you? How's your process basically as well?
Used to have to meditate a long time. Like when I first started, it would be like a half hour meditation. Then it kept going down, 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 down. Right now, I don't even. Maybe I can meditate for like 2 minutes and I'm there. Right. So it's really about getting your vibration to be higher, and when your vibration can get higher, it's so much easier to connect. But my guides mainly, I'm mainly clairaudient, which means I mostly hear messages. So I'm hearing my voice, but it's not my thought. And that's how I know it's a message coming from spirit. But it's literally like this two-way conversation. So I know I might sound like a crazy person because I'm saying I'm having this conversation in my head and I'm hearing my voice, but like it's a two-way conversation. But that's really how it works. And I do a lot of automatic writing, so I do just like let them, let spirit kind of take over my hand, and they do a lot of writing for me. Um, so yeah, it's more like I'm just getting like I'm hearing things more than any of the other clairs. I'm not really getting images, visions, or symbols when I talk to them, like when I do with the mediumship readings. It's more just I'm hearing things from them.
Wow. So you want to bring whether your guides or your higher self through whoever feels like it.
Sure. So, do you want me to do my guides, or do you want me to connect with your guide?
Well, if you want to connect with mine, be my guest.
Permission, absolutely.
Yes, you
So,
do.
okay. So a question that I get asked a lot about with spirit guides is what is their name? And I'm always like, who cares, right? Like I just call mine spirit guide. I've been calling her that for
Oh,
years. But
I know mine.
okay,
So that's all right.
very good. All right, so let me just connect a moment here. My gosh. Right away, they are saying that like you're in total alignment of where you're supposed to be right now. You are like you found your purpose and you're doing the thing and they're so proud of you that you were able to do it. And I feel like I don't know if when you were younger, if you kind of felt like this was where you were going to end up, but I kind of feel like it was like when you were younger, then there was like a space of it wasn't, and then now it is. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense a little.
Okay. Yeah. So they're basically saying that, yeah, your days are filled with so much light and you're bringing light to other people and it's ways that you don't even know. It's people that aren't even recognizing you bringing that light in, that you're changing people's lives without even realizing it. They're not telling you, and you're not able to recognize it, but you're changing them. Whether it's just from like a simple thing that you say or a gesture, but it's like this ripple effect of you are helping someone and then they help someone else, and then it's kind of like this ripple effect, but like you're kind of like at the top of the totem pole is kind of what I'm seeing, and it's stemming from you. So yeah, they are like, keep doing what you're doing, and it's bringing you so much joy. So there's so much like joy in your life for what you're doing right now. And so yeah, so I think that's their main message for you today. So that's awesome. In alignment, living your higher purpose, helping others. That's so beautiful. Awesome.
Thank you, Brandi.
Do you agree? Is that pretty relevant to what's going on in your life right now?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of exactly.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome. So happy for you.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about actionable tools for the audience that they can start using maybe for shadow work.
For shadow work, okay. Um, for shadow work, let me think. So, oh my gosh, shadow work is such a tough one. Um, so there's the main things for shadow work, right? So you need to figure out, do you have inner child healing that you need to work on? Like I said, self-forgiveness, self-betrayal. Is there anything that maybe you are looking at externally for validation when you know that you have it internally? And so you got to stop looking for that external validation and start really going within yourself, because that's where your answers are. That's going to help you to live your higher purpose. So looking inward, and really having that self love, self acceptance, self compassion while you're going through that process, because a lot of hard emotions might come up where you need to just like recognize, but I went through this, right? But I knew this is who I am now. And maybe I went through that because I had a lesson to learn, or how is that going to make me stronger for another thing that's going to happen to me in my life, when I can look back and say, hey, I lived through that and I got through it. And how is that going to help me in the future? So it's really looking at things from a different perspective that help. And again, I'm not a therapist, so there's not so much I can do in terms of like do this, do that. But those are basically the main ones you want to look into. And there's some great shadow work exercises, excuse me, and journals that you can find online to work on. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it on your own, or maybe have like a good friend or your spouse or a therapist to go through those things with you, because it is hard work and you don't need to do it alone. So that's a big thing, is like, know that you don't have to do it all on your own.
Good. So, well, we have been talking about a lot of things. So, I want to ask you, what is the most important thing in your life right now that makes your heart sing the most? And how can people find their own music for their heart?
Yes. Mine right now is definitely use pet readings. When someone books a pet reading, I get so excited. And, I'm unlike my competitors. A lot of my competitors just do an audio note. And so they're not actually, sitting with the person. And I'm not sitting with them physically, but I'm doing it over Zoom. And that's all I need is a picture of their pet looking with their eyes looking into the camera to do the reading. But I don't understand the audio notes, because I love the human interaction. I love hearing them, laughing with them, having them ask questions if questions come up during it. So I just love the human interaction, but then also the pet interaction. I just think it's just like a fun thing to do, and really to find someone's what they're passionate about is really going on this journey of personal development, self growth, and that ties in with psychic abilities. And that's what my mentorship program is all about. Because when you can find who you are deep down, and listen to your intuition and listen to your inner self versus listening to other people and how society wants you to live, that's really where you're going to find it. Because if you've been living a life of only looking at science and facts and logic, and so you're kind of missing out on the spirituality side, then you're basically missing out on what your spirit guides might be trying to tell you, right? And if you don't know how to communicate with your spirit guides, you might not get that guidance. But whenever you can really look internally and not have any fear of judgment of what other people think of you. This is your life and your life only. That's how you're going to get there. If you're only looking at logic and things like that, you're missing out on possibly finding your own passion because we need to pay bills and we're supposed to get married and we're supposed to have kids. We're supposed to do all these things, right? But like we're kind of taught society's kind of taught us to not go internally. We do that when we're young because we're not in the school systems yet. But then we kind of forget to look internally, and that's where all the answers are. So, and that's where your soul is that lived all these past lives to give you their guidance that are going to tell you how your future lives are going to go. So, it's really a matter of looking at every day of like, does this make me happy, right? So does my job make me happy, and does my spouse make me happy? Just looking at different relationships in your life, do they make you feel good and uplifting, or are they like dragging you down? And that's your answer right there. It's very simple if you think about it that way. It's more the challenge of course, I have to pay bills while I'm trying to find my passion, right? So, but you can still do it. Like if you work all day, do it on the nights and the weekends, and you'll get there. That's what I had to do. So, I mean, and you'll get there. But as long as you have that goal of this is what I want to do, and I think this will make me happy, then you're gonna get there. So yeah, maybe it takes some journaling, maybe it takes some meditating, but you'll get there.
Wow, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the facts about Brandy's development. Like, are there any kind of milestones that you would say you went through specifically to find your mediumship?
Yeah. So as I said, I worked with a mentor for about 6 months. And she gave me a ton of homework to do. So even though I was only working with her for that hour, I had a lot of homework, and a lot of it was the shadow work. A lot of it was trying out different exercises, seeing if it was right for me. And then I would talk to her again, and she would be like, "No, let's try it this way. If it's not working." So it was really this good one-on-one mentorship. But even after that, I still did religiously once a week. Every single Thursday night, I was part of a practice circle for about 8 months. And I would practice on people that knew I was practicing the readings so that they could validate what I was saying. Because it's just crazy how our minds, we just don't trust ourselves and we don't trust spirit. We don't believe that any of it's real because of that societal conditioning. So even though someone would say, "You're 100% right, this is so spot on, totally validate me," I would still be thinking like, "No, I'm making this up. Like, there's no way this is right." And they believed in me more than I believed in myself, and they're telling me I'm right. And I feel like the practice is so important because when you can hear that validation, the more you hear it, the more self-trust you're going to get. And I'm at the point now where I could be doing a mediumship reading for someone and they could say like, "This is not, I don't, recognize any of this. This is totally wrong." But I'm like, "No, no, this is right." Like spirit is not going to give me a wrong message. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. Maybe you're going to talk to your mom after this and it's going to make sense to her. But there's no way that spirit's going to come and give me lies. They're the highest beings of all. Like why would they give me a message that doesn't make sense or that's not for you to hear? And literally 10 times out of 10, that person will write back and say, "Oh yeah, it didn't happen yet," or "I talked to my mom and it did make sense then." So yeah, so you have to be so um trusting of spirit and just know that you are this channel. It's not like, "Yay, I'm amazing because I can do it." It's awesome that I have this ability that I can channel spirit and spirit can come through me. I'm not doing anything, right? I'm just channeling. But spirit is what's amazing. And so you really need to look at it that way. But it does take a long time to get through that self doubt. It's just so ingrained in us to not believe in spirituality. So it takes a long time. Yeah. But yeah, people would definitely get there. Just don't give up. Keep believing in yourself. That's why it's great to have a mentor just to say like, "No, you're 100% validated. I know this. I went through this, right? Like, so I know it's real as well." But whenever you don't, maybe if you don't have a community that will support you in that way, you start to doubt yourself even more. So community is a huge thing too whenever you're going through this.
So let's talk a little bit more about that exactly. So you met your today husband at some stage in your life, and how was that? Like, Hey, how are you? My name is Brandi, and yeah, I talk to spirit. And what do you do for a living?
So when I first met him, I was not doing this yet. Well, you know what? That's not true. So I wasn't a psychic yet, but I had already had the grandma experience and I was already looking into things, but I wasn't actually doing readings yet. But even now that he's been along for the whole journey of me going through the mentor and me doing readings and things, he's still on the science side. So he's not spiritual at all. And not that he's against it, he totally supports me. But he now has experiences himself because the more psychic you are, the people around you start to have experiences. So he has now seen an apparition. He now, like, I'll be meditating in the basement and we have this 4 floor home. We live in the city, and he'll be up on this on the very top floor. And when I'm meditating, all of a sudden the ceiling fan turns on like high speed. So he's definitely experiencing things and he doesn't know how to explain them. And he doesn't deny them, but he's also like, but there has to be some kind of reasoning behind this, right? So yeah, he's supportive of it, but he's not into it. And he's not sure how any of this works. Which neither am I really. We have these words like telepathy and energy, like we put labels to things, but like I really don't know how it works. It just does.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So for him, it's like, I don't know, business as usual to have these things going on.
Yeah, right? Yes, pretty much. It's like, yeah, I do tell him about readings and things, and he's like, he does agree, like, oh my gosh, how would you know that? You know what I mean? So I think he's more like, I don't want to say fearful. It's more of, yeah, he just still has that societal conditioning of like, there's no logic to it, but I also see that there's no way you could know that. So
And how is it when you interact with other people? Like you meet people, and what does happen?
yes. So when I when people ask me what I do for a living, and I tell them, it is kind of 50-50. Some people are like, "Oh, like they don't even want to ask any questions. Like they probably just think I'm crazy, honestly." But I just don't care. I have no fear of judgment, right? This is what I do. If you think I'm not talking to dead people, like you're the crazy one, okay? But a lot of other people are like they start to have a ton of questions. Like they're very interested in it. So I almost feel like that happens more often because I feel like my spirit guides probably put the right people in my path for me to talk to that maybe need to hear that. But yeah, lots of questions. How do you do that? How did you get started? How do I get started? But yeah, but then there's still some that are like, you're taking advantage or you're a fraud or something like that. And it's like you can believe whatever you want, but I know what's real in my heart.
Wow. So, what about your family? I mean, you said some of them are psychic. So, how does it show up now that everybody knows that you are doing this for a living? And
Yeah, no one's surprised at what I'm doing at all. I have one cousin that he can actually like know someone's emotions before they're going to even have them. So he's very empathic, but usually empaths feel other people's emotions as they're going through it, where he actually can feel it before they go through it. So he's working a lot on that. He can also talk to spirit animals. So he's working on that as well. So we kind of have different abilities, but we still have abilities. My sister, on the other hand, can see spirits and not even in her mind, like outside, like as though they're right in front of you. And she has a really good control of it because she wants nothing to do with it. And she tells them to go away. And she's really good at being able to have that control of telling them to leave her alone. Um, and then I have an uncle he's actually an angelic healer. He can actually channel Archangel Michael and heal people with his mind, which is so amazing. So he just asks people their names and says, like, hey, if you have something going on, I'll put you on my list. And he creates what he calls a healing ball, and then he throws it out to people who need it. And his success rate is amazing. And it's like probably 90%. He just had this baby that had been in the NICU for 11 months and her whole life, and he only prayed for her for 3 days, and now she's home and doing amazing. So it's that same thing of like the more validation you get, like this stuff is real, like you can do this stuff. Um, that's pretty much the big ones. It all stemmed from my great grandma. who I'm sure it's even more ancestors than that, but that's the first one I knew about. But she was what they termed a witch, and she was a bad witch. So she would do very bad things to people and put spells on people. And so my mentor had told me that this generation and the last is the first ones that actually are changing that to do good with our ability versus the evil stuff that seemed to be in my history. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But my dad's side, so my dad's a complete skeptic, like my husband, even though I've done readings for him that there's no way I would know stuff about his mom and things like that, but he's still a skeptic. But then when I became a pet psychic, his niece on his side was like, "Oh my gosh, we had an aunt that was a pet psychic." So I'm like, oh, maybe both sides of my family were psychic. Maybe I'm getting the mediumship from one side and getting the pets from the other. I don't know. It's awesome.
Oh my God, that's really cool.
You never know.
Yeah, yeah, but actually, everybody has something going on. It's just about finding out which is your main clear right now,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all born with intuition. And I think people don't realize that intuition is their psychic sense. So we all have these five physical senses, but then we also have that gut feeling. And that's what makes you psychic. And that's why everyone has this gift. So even the skeptics out there, if they have a gut feeling of like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway, there that was your psychic moment, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, yeah, overcoming fear and going into the heart center.
Yeah, so overcoming fear is a big one because, we have all these movies and TV shows like Poltergeist and Exorcist that are telling us that these things are scary, but it's like if a black shadow came in here right now, I would just treat them how I actually treat spirits is I put like a customer service type voice on, but I also kind of treat them like a child. So I'm like, how can I help you today? Are you lost or do you have a message from someone? Because even if they have a black if even if they're a black shadow, like maybe it's your grandma wearing a black jacket. Like I don't know until I talk to them. You can't assume that something's scary just because they're talking. It's not like it confuses me why people get fearful because especially people that have a religion because if you believe that spirits go on to heaven and some go to hell, if every spirit that came to you you believe are the ones that went to hell, like how is that possible? Like that means that your whole life you spent around really bad people then, you know what I mean? Like why would these bad people come to you? So yeah, you really got to find out what's going on. But even if a bad energy or negative energy comes in, you have to be in complete control. And so what I tell my clients, especially the ladies, is if you're in a club or you're dancing somewhere and some guy came over and touched your ass, right? You would be like, "Get your hands off of me. You need to leave right now." And you need to be like that with spirit. You need to be in complete control where you don't have any fear at all. Like, like you just know your boundary and you cannot touch me that way, right? And that's the same thing with spirit. If a spirit comes in here and tries to scare me, like, no, you need to get out of my energy and you're not allowed to be here. So it's literally as simple, I say, as that. It takes a while to get there, but when you can be in so much control that if they know they're not going to get a rise out of you, if you're not going to get anxious, if you're not going to have be fearful or nervous, they're going to leave because what's the point of them being there? That's the only reason they might be there is to scare you. And if you're not afraid, they're going to leave. So you really need to have that control. And then what was the second part of your question? Sorry.
To drop into the heart center.
Yes. So there's many ways to do that. I usually teach my clients to do that with, meditations, but again, it's really about listening to yourself. So I might have them envision because the heart center is the heart chakra, the emerald green, or it could also be gold, or I really don't care what color, or maybe they don't even see a color. Maybe they just feel it, maybe they just sense it, maybe they feel the warmth of it. Whatever clear sense they need to use to really tap into that. But that's really where everything stems, right? So to know that you're loved, that you're beloved, that you're loving, that you love other people, it's so important because that's where gratitude's going to come in. And whenever you can connect with gratitude, acceptance, and love, forgiveness, compassion, all of those good things, that's when your vibration is going to raise, and then that's when your frequency is getting higher. And whenever that happens, that's when you're able to communicate with spirit. So it's really important to be able to, you know, things aren't always going to be good, right? Like you're going to have bad situations come up, but if you look at them through a different perspective of what is this trying to teach me versus why is this happening to me, like things shift a bit. And so you can start to look at things in a different way and have more love toward even bad situations, because maybe that's a lesson that you're meant to learn on this earth.
I love that. So, Brandy, would you like to share your highest vision for the new earth?
So it's interesting that I have like it's like 50-50. I have like a really the spiritual people are going to get more spiritual and they're going to help raise the vibration, but there's also a lot of bad in the world right now. So it's kind of like this, light versus dark, I feel like going on, which has always been, but I do feel like there's getting more light and so that we can overcome that darkness. But I feel like, especially when COVID happened and the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people went inward. A lot of people found spirituality, a lot of acceptance around things that were happening. So I feel like that gave us a time to be quiet, to be more still, to not be as busy and to look inward. So even though it was a bad hard time to go through, I think it was actually really good for the planet, and for raising consciousness of everyone on earth. But yeah, there's still dark out there, so I'm hoping that one day light will overcome that darkness, but I also believe that light can't exist without darkness. So yeah, it's kind of both, I guess, unfortunately.
Thank you, Brandy, for being a guest today. We will be posting your links down below for the people who resonated with you and your message to connect.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was so nice speaking with you.